Hello everybody, hello again. Today I will introduce you Juliana. I really love her nick. She put change maker, and I think that's who she is. I love her story and I think you would love it as well. I'm passing on the microphone to Juliana. Go for it. Please tell us about yourself, Juliana.
Hi, everyone. So it's a pleasure to be here in this Happiness Rewired. I think those trying times, it's really good to hear stories of people that manage to overcome crisis and actually make the crisis as opportunities. That's my motto in life. So when I was 19 years old, one day I felt unwell. A week later, I went to hospital, and in 48 hours, I was totally paralyzed. It started with pins and needles in my legs, then my arms, then nothing. I just could move my head. I remember asking the doctors, how long am I going to be here? I have uni, I have work, I need to get out. And they said, oh, you might stay maybe 3 days. They suspect of meningitis. I end up staying 37, and my life just pretty much changed forever. Took a long time for them to come up with a possible diagnosis. I had transverse myelitis caused by lupus. So transverse myelitis incidence is 1.34 in a million, but caused by lupus, there are fewer more than 100 cases described in the medical literature. So in plain English, I had this massive inflammation in my spinal cord caused by an autoimmune disease. I like to think I'm very special and rare. That's how I reframe it, because it is such bad luck. It's really, really rare to happen. And ta-da, here I am. Anyway, I remember coming back home, and my first reaction was just to burst into tears. And I felt that overwhelming pain in my heart because nothing could change the reality that surrounded me. I was 19 years old, I was in a wheelchair, and I couldn't feel or move 3/4 of my body. But one of the things that hard time teaches is how to count on the generosity of other human beings. And I think one of the key points of resilience is to be humble and ask for help when you need help. Everybody goes through hard time in life. Everybody. Some of us have visible scars. So people see me, they see my wheelchair, and they know there is a story behind it. But all of you here in this online show today have what are called the invisible scars. It could be a loss of a dear one. It could be a cancer that still haunts you. It could be a tragedy that happened in your childhood, or a broken heart that never healed. And it's just part of life. Everybody goes through hard time. But one of the greatest opportunities that crisis and loss and grief and hard time give us is the chance to build resilience and find joy in things that we before maybe took for granted. So I'm talking too much. Let's get to the next topic.
Um, Hold on a second. I would like to ask you here, at that stage when you were really down and you sort of don't know what to do, and how you, who showed you, how you managed to reframe this situation? How did how did you get to the point that you are able to reframe your pain into possibility? How did you get there? Because this is the most difficult part. In my opinion, it's the most difficult part.
Yeah, I think there was many things that helped me to survive first to survival mode, then to thrive. Well, first, I am blessed to have amazing family, very supportive family, and a lot of friends. And the American Psychology Association shows us that number one thing to build resilience is to tap into your connections. So tap into your connections. And I did tap in my connections, and my friends, they were always there. If there was like a record of visitors in the hospital back then, that would be the patient with most visitors. I was never alone. Second thing, it's quite particular of myself. I use humor, like dark sense of humor or irony or being very sarcastic to deal with the pain. My theory is that you make it banal and it hurts less. So back then I created a blog that was called Comedies of Cripple Life, where I would, just get all the shit that was happening in my life and make fun out of it. So I can tell you, like, one of the worst parts of having a spinal cord injury is that you can lose control of your bowel in your bladder. So I remember, like, oh my God, I was 19 years old and shitting myself, in the public place or something like that. So I will get this terrible story and make something really funny out of it, and have a laugh, and just pretty much tragedy and comedy, they go hands to hand. So that really, really helped me.
Wow.
And at the end, the result of that Comedies of Cripple Life, later on, it ended up becoming a book. So it became my autobiography that was published in 2010. And then, of course, there was this part of after the spinal cord injury. But I got a lot of stories from my previous life. I like to think I have two lives in one. And that's the other thing, the other tool to overcome loss is that, first of all, you need to understand that life as you knew it is over. And you are starting your second life. And if life has value because of the variety of experiences that we go through, what rich life I had to have, because I have two lives in one. So I had the life of someone that was able to run, loved to play soccer, was always in the dance floor, very naughty, crazy, wild teenager. And I had the second life of someone that have to understand that many things that I took for granted were taken away, and I will have to adjust and just carry on with my life. And if you ask me before, like my 18-year-old Juliana, if you one day you end up in a wheelchair, what would you do? I say, I would rather not live. That was my mindset. And I think that's the mindset of a lot of people that cannot imagine themselves going through some really life-changing events. But I promise you, once you're there, you will find a way. You have to find a way to overcome and go through. And I remember one of the things that took me ages was like to have a shower. I was so sick and so weak that I couldn't sit. So I was having those shower in the bed, like just some thoughts, and for 2 months. And I remember I was dreaming to have a shower. So you can imagine how amazing it was to have a shower after 2 months. Things that today we just, this is a little bit cold, I might just jump the shower. So you learn to appreciate other things that we all took for granted. Something else that really helped me was to count always with ask for help. And man, I tried everything. Like there's this guy here that he's like a wizard and might help you. Yeah, I will go there. There's this church here, let's go there. There is this, I went everywhere. And in Brazil, we have this different type of religions, a lot of different religions. So there's this place where I don't know how to say in English that, but it is a place where it is a little bit crazy. Okay, it's out of, it will be a little cultural shock. Anyway, there I go. So I lay down in the bed, and then there's this guy all in white, and he comes and asks me to close my eyes, and he puts a drop of water here and in my wrist, and then this water was like running in my eye, and then I just did this to clean, and when I look, oh, blood. And when I looked to the side, there was the head of a of a goat, and I was like, oh my god. So I end up in this place where they sacrifice animals, you know, to do kind of black magic or something. Well, you name it. I tried everything, and a lot of things helped. One of the things that helped the most is to understand that everything in the universe is constantly vibrating, resonating at different frequencies. And our feelings, they also have different vibrational levels. So we need to be mindful when our inner voice and our thoughts, you know, they going into those dark places. Because if we are vibrating in that negativity, we pretty much keep attracting more negativity. It is really hard, but there are techniques to do that. One of the things that you can do is pretty much write down like a positive phrase, or I like to use something that I've learned with a book, that I am whole, perfect, powerful, strong, loving, harmonious, and happy. So I write down that, and then I can know by heart now. And whenever my head comes, oh, you're not worth it, oh, you're not, you know, the inner voice never stops, the chat box saying you're not good enough, you're going wrong. Just when I have those thoughts, okay, I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. And I keep repeating to myself until those thoughts go away. You know, we have so much power in our minds, and we don't tap into it.
This is sort of magical words you just mentioned. Can you repeat them again? Maybe somebody else will use them and it will help.
Yes.
It sounds
so
like
actually
magic.
That comes from the book. It's from the book, The Master Key System.
And so who is author?
It is, I am whole, I'm whole, perfect, strong, powerful, loving, harmonious, and happy. But you can write down whatever it is for your needs, you know. I am beautiful, I am complete, it is whatever you're missing. Mm-hmm. And then you repeat for yourself. Because we need to, it's pretty much, I think the biggest of all challenges in life is actually to control our mind and our thoughts.
It sounds,
because you master that, you will have peace on your way. Because at the end of the day, we live in our heads, and it doesn't really matter what happens to us. It's how you react to it, you know. So one of the other things that I've learned through life is that we choose all the time. And even to believe we have no choice, it is a choice in itself. There is a tale of the two twins that had a raging alcoholic father, and they had a hell of a childhood. When they grow up, one of the twins become a raging alcoholic like his father, and the other one never put a drop of alcohol in his mouth. When they were asked, oh, why? Oh, because my father was an alcoholic. Mm-hmm. So we make our choices and we justify, because that's how we humans make meaning out of life. So something happens, okay, what happened to me? I had a spinal cord inflammation when I was 19 years old. What I could have signified from that, I could say, oh, this tragedy ruined my life. Or I could say, okay, this is an opportunity for self-development, for growth. I can share my story, help other people that will go through similar things in life. And maybe I could find a mission in my life, because one of the really tough things about ending up in this wheelchair is that on top of losing my movements, I, from the day one I sit in a chair, I lost many rights I took for granted.
I was about to
Places that I
ask
could
you
not go
this
because they
question.
weren't accessible.
I was about to
Yeah.
ask this
The
question.
looks,
I
the way people
just
interact with you.
Yes, yes, yes. I was just about to ask you this question. So you are in New Zealand. I wouldn't say that it's very long time as you are in New Zealand, but you already have made the change, very significant change for many people. And this is amazing. And this is really amazing. I would love you to tell about how you manage, how how you dare to do this, because you did it, because you wanted it,
Yeah.
because you were persevering.
Yeah.
Tell us all
Yeah.
about this.
So back to those rights that we took for granted. I had to become a self-advocate early on, in my journey as someone that uses a wheelchair, because there are so many places that you cannot go, and lack of accessibility, or the looks, people attitudes. And one of the hardest ones is people have very low expectations of someone in a wheelchair. So I remember back in Brazil, I had a very successful career. And then people would say, oh, wow, you're so intelligent and you're in a wheelchair. Like those two features could not be together in the same person, because people expect not much if you have a disability. Anyway, I moved to New Zealand. I fell in love with New Zealand, came here to visit my siblings. And I just like, okay, I want to live in this country. So I took the plunge, make the move. And in 2 months, I sat the IELTS, score 7.5. A month later, I got a job in the disability sector, a role with national scope. Queen Street, 10th floor, had a window that could see the sea. I was on top of my game. Then in 2014, I applied to be a resident under the skilled migrant category. And back then, you needed 100 points to qualify. I had 175. And I said, well, I have a chance. But that's when I came across the immigration policy of the health requirement. And in that policy, there is a list of conditions, including all types of disabilities and some chronic health issues. If you have any of those conditions, the policy says immigration must decline your residency application unless you have a medical waiver. Oh, well, lucky me, I had two in the list: paraplegia and severe autoimmune disorder. I was mad. I read that and I say, I can't believe this. New Zealand signed the UN Convention on the Rights for Persons with Disabilities. The Article 18 talks about the liberty of movement and nationality. I was just like, what? So I remember talking to my boss, and she said, hold on, don't do nothing. Hold on, don't. First get your residency, and then you do something about it. And okay, took a deep breath. And so they use the medical waiver to assess, okay, we're gonna let you in or not. And the medical waiver, pretty much, they put in a scale. Okay, you have this condition, and this condition is likely to cost this much. And on the other hand, they will assess your ties to New Zealand, your potential contribution to the country, and the level of cost you might impose to the system. I thought I had a chance because I was working full time. I have already done my rehabilitation, knew how to live independently in a wheelchair. My lupus was in remission for 10 years. And I had a family here. I was well connected with the disability community. I thought, I got this. So full of confidence, I put my application, and I got this. The process was lengthy, bureaucratic, costly, and from time to time, I will receive those potentially prejudicial information letters saying, you are paraplegic, you're going to cost too much. we are likely to decline your residency based on that. Please comment. You can provide a medical report contesting, that. And I say, how on earth I'm going to contest that I'm paraplegic? So the system is really, really flawed, And I think after some time, after many PPI letters, that confident and vibrant woman that I was started to ask if persist was the right decision. And all the humanization of the process took a toll on my health. And at the end of 2015, I had a lupus flare triggered by stress. So after 10 years of health stability, I had a flare because of stress. And I was in hospital. I had meningitis caused by lupus. I was in hospital when I received a letter from immigration declining for the first time my medical waiver and my residency. One day after my discharge, I was in the lawyer's office preparing my appeal. And I appeal not only because I love New Zealand, I want to be here with my family, but because giving up just go against my core values. I have an image that whenever I have a challenge, I see myself as a big, strong, furious rhino. A rhino that just put their head down, rhino with tough skin. They just put their horn against the obstacle and go for it. I don't give up. I appeal. Took 10 months to the tribunal to make a decision, and they say that immigration has done an unfair and incorrect assessment, and they refer it back to immigration. And then it took another 19 months of me trying to prove my value, trying to prove that I wasn't a burden, and immigration say no for the second time. And I think by then the rhino was broken. To fight the system was by far the hardest thing I ever faced in my life. The emotional toll was worse than becoming paraplegic. Because it was not something that I could. Becoming paraplegic was okay, how do I deal with this? But when you have like a system, a policy, there is no face, there's no one to blame, it is who I'm fighting with. Again, that was just the beginning of, the second no was just the beginning of the worst year of my life. In the next following 12 months, I've been in hospital 8 times. I had meningitis caused by lupus again. I had influenza. I got some urinary tract infections with multi-resistant bugs that took me to hospital 8 times. I had to do IV antibiotics. They put like a PICC line here. And all this time I was still working. I worked from hospital. I was doing treatment and trying to keep up with everything. On top of that, I one day fell off my chair, broke my foot. One night, my eardrum burst out of the blue, and I got dumped by a guy that I was seeing. So all this pack in just 1 year, 12 months. Then it was time to apply for a new work visa, and I applied for a new work visa. And when immigration saw that year that I've been to hospital 8 times, they say, no, we're not giving work visa. It didn't matter that I was here paying taxes like everyone else for the other 7 years. So I started doing therapy again. I tapped into my networks, family, friends. And that was when I learned about the scale of vibration that I was telling before, that,
Yep.
Our feelings have vibrational states. And after some time, things coming together, they start vibrating at the same level. So I was vibrating very, very, very low. I was vibrating apathy. And as a result, I was attracting all this negativity. Once I changed my mindset, I was slowly getting back on my wheels. But then I have a pretty hard decision to make. All right. So after getting the second no and having the work visa denied, I had a really hard decision to make. With the work visa about to expire, my only chance to remain in New Zealand was to overstay, become liable for deportation, to then be able to appeal against the deportation on humanitarian grounds. But that would mean that I would be here unlawfully, would not be able to work, would have to live on my savings, then borrow money from my brother, thanks brother, when the money was all gone. And I had no time frame or certainty of success. And there was also the fear of getting sick again, because without a visa, I could not even apply for a health insurance. It was really, really scary, but I never let fear decide for my life. I truly believe there is a certain level of achievement that only comes with courage and persistence. Extraordinary things happen for those brave enough to take risks and never give up. There is a phrase from Franklin Delano Roosevelt that I really like, as courage is not the absence of fear, but rather the assessment that something else is more important than fear. And do you know what was more important than fear? Challenge the status quo, that people with disabilities are a burden. That's what I was doing. I was challenging the status quo, because the only reason for me to not stay here was they were saying I'm a burden, that costs too much. So I put my fear aside and I decided to stay and fight to stay in New Zealand until the end. And from September 2019 to February 2020, I was unlawful, but I was taking a stand here because that wasn't just about me. That was way bigger than me. And so that's why I created a petition to change the immigration policy using my personal story as a vector for transformation. So I like to say they mock around with the wrong cripple. They're mocking around with the wrong person, because I'm not giving up. So the rhino mode was on, and so I started the campaign with the hashtag Let Her Stay. And I lodged the appeal against deportation, and then I had to wait. Waiting time is always really, really a challenge. But there was also this opportunity for reflection. So one of the things that I've learned is that a system that discriminates can take away from you everything you need to live and to survive. I lost my job. I lost my health. I was on the brink of being separated from my family. But there was one thing that the system couldn't take away, and that's my hope, because that's a power within. So I just hang in there with my hope, and this deep belief that I was doing the right thing, persisting, and that it is 2021 and we shouldn't be discriminating based on disability grounds. I also learned, and I said that before, that family, friends, your connections, they are the foundation that support you through the unthinkable. And in February 2020, the unthinkable came. My appeal against deportation was denied. I was given 3 months to leave New Zealand. They gave me 3-month work visa to organize my affairs and leave the country. Then my last legal option was to ask for ministerial intervention. And the same week that my appeal was lodged in the minister's office, New Zealand went on full lockdown because of COVID-19, the first lockdown. Life is strange now. Everyone in this country was having a taste of what it's like to live in uncertainty and to deal with something that you have no control of. But crisis means opportunity, as I said, and I always say it over and over. And because of the COVID, all the visas, temporary visas, were extended until September, including my one. So I was supposed to live in May. My visa was extended until September. And that gave me the time to wait for the minister's decision. Then I keep on reflecting and reflecting. And I think one of the big lessons with this battle with immigration is that you can run away from your mission. You know, you can run away. In my case, it's literal. I can run away, but you can't run away from what you mean to be doing here, or what you choose to be your mission. So I try to avoid all the suffering associated with my impairment, and I swear that I will never face discrimination again. So I moved to a first world, country, hoping that I wouldn't be discriminated. But in my case, I need to accept that I will be treated differently no matter where I go. And that I have this role to amplify the voices of those with disabilities. And I think once I understood, the lesson, everything came into place. So I was in the office working, because I got a 3-month work visa, went back to my previous employer. Was 22nd of July, 11:52 a.m., and my phone rang. It was the lawyer, and he said, the minister say yes. And I say, what? The minister say yes. I say, what? It was just the third time that he said, the minister has granted you residency. That I was like, oh my God. And then I start thanking him like profusely. And then I start crying. Then I say, I have to tell my family. But then I decided to tell them face to face, and I recorded the reaction so I could share with all the 34,000 people that signed my petition to change the immigration policy. And I won the battle, but the war is not over, because my case was just an exception to the instructions. So I keep on with the petition up, and right now I'm in the process of making the submission to the parliament. So there's an MP called Jen Loggy, because when you have a petition, to submit that to parliament, you need a member of the parliament to represent you. So she's going to represent me, and they will have to assess and appreciate, this request to change the immigration policy. And that is really backed up in the fact that New Zealand signed the UN Convention. So this country needs to honor what they agreed to do internationally. It's not just, cannot be just like, oh yeah, it's pretty, we signed the convention, but then you have this policy absolutely discriminatory and so damaging. At some point I was so depressed, feeling so hopeless, because I couldn't come across this systemic barrier. And I'm very resourceful, and I have amazing support. So imagine the impact on that for a kid with a disability, or someone that doesn't have the support that I had. I could fight, and I would keep on fighting because I had support, from my family here. Yeah, but yeah, crisis means opportunity, and I think it's time for me to shut up because I talk a lot.
Yes.
And I just want to finish with with one of my favorite quotes from Buddha. That is, in the face of adversity, be grateful, for such opportunities do not come by often.
It's amazing.
Thank you very much for...
Thank you. Thank you very much. All the best.